Yeah, that intro sounded like the Quiet Storm. I have a special program here on Local Music Somewhere today. This is Terry Hudson. I'm an author, coach, connector, and I also work as a coach to music industry personnel. And today in the studio, I have a great artist that I've known quite a while, and she is what we call a slasher. You'll be finding out more about that on this program. It's a term you've probably heard thrown around. You may even know what it means, but we'll talk about tips on how to be an effective one. And her name is Levi DaRosa. She is a R&B singer who is, her music crosses over into pop, hip hop, and also R&B. She's got some exciting things coming up, and she's had a pretty incredible year. And she's based here in our home base right now of Charlotte, North Carolina. So that's where our Local Music Somewhere will be today, is Charlotte, North Carolina. Welcome to the program, Levi. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So great to see you.
Good to see you. Right.
You're one of those that I see out in public, quite a bit. We're at different events and things that go on. And part of that's because of your slasher status, which we'll get into in a moment. I guess we can talk about generally what a slasher is, and then we'll go into who you are. But as some people already know, a slasher is someone that has multiple roles. Okay. Like when I say I'm an author slash, connector slash, that kind of thing. And you are that. You're a singer slash curator slash publisher.
Yes.
And
all of that.
You really have a lot more than that, but we'll talk about, how that all gets placed. But let's start with you. We said you were Charlotte-based.
Yes.
But you're actually from another, we know Charlotte is a very beautiful city, but you're also from another beautiful city. Yeah. So tell me about that.
So I'm also from the Sunshine State. So I was born in Jacksonville, Florida. And
such a beautiful city.
It is so beautiful. I love just being a Floridian. I love the vibe of that. I think it's something very special. And I recently learned also that my dad was born in Hempstead, New York.
Oh, wow.
So it's like not only do I have like this up north, thing kind of going on, I have this down south thing going on. And then when my mom moved me and my siblings to Charlotte, North Carolina, I feel like we were just right there in the middle of that southern charm and that northern, just all mixed together.
It's definitely a melting pot here. We have a lot of some people here call Yankees or Northern that come down here. And, it's a great business city. But what did you like the most about Jacksonville?
So what I love is the palm trees. I love palm trees.
It is different. Like once you hit, it was parts of South Carolina, but once you hit Georgia, it starts to get strong.
And you start
and you get
to
down
see
there in
them.
Florida,
Yeah.
It's like a different world.
And it's just a different smell. You can smell the beach. You can smell the water. Like you can just smell the salt in the air. So for me, it's really about the palm trees, just that lifestyle that's just so free and the water just influencing the state. Like you can feel all of that. We lived right near the beach. So for me, that's what I really love about it. Yeah. And then I also love being close to family. We uprooted and came to North Carolina. All of my family is still in Jacksonville, Florida. So for me, it's family and just that Floridian palm tree vibe.
Yeah. And another beautiful thing about the city, I love when I'm going down to Orlando or St. Augustine's, whatever it is, I'm going through Jacksonville, you're going over that bridge at night and you see that city reflect on the water.
Yeah, it's nothing like
pretty
that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So now you're up here, and when did you move up here? About what age?
I moved here, let me see, I'm gonna tell my age. I'm 92, so maybe around like 4 or 5 years old.
Oh, when you first I'm gonna tell my age, 92. I thought you looked really good for 92.
Thank you. So I moved here very, very young. So I was raised in Charlotte, and I really take pride in that. I do consider myself a Charlottean also. I think that's what makes me pretty well-rounded. It just gives me so much versatility just in my creativity, in my personality. So I came here very, very young. So Charlotte is really what I know. Yeah.
Yeah, and being that you came here young, it looks like that you got into Northwest.
Yeah, Northwest School of the Arts.
Yeah, and that's spawned so many amazing people.
It has.
From like Broadway to the music industry to actresses in film.
Yeah.
My daughter actually went there as well. So tell me more about your experience there. Like, what was the training like? What makes them so special?
Wow. so many things makes Northwest special, and I think it starts with just the advocation of the arts to begin with, because over the years I've seen institutions like, defund their arts department or kind of
Right.
take it away. And Northwest is a school that promotes that creativity, and it was so diverse. I never felt like it was popularity was a thing or anything like that. Everyone just specialized in what they specialized. And I think that's what set it apart. I got into Northwest playing the flute.
Oh, wow.
So my mom got
I didn't even
me.
know that about you.
Yeah. Like just many traits, right? So my mom got me playing the flute. So I auditioned to Northwest. And it was so much fun because I never really auditioned to get into a school before. I felt like I was trying to go to Juilliard or something like that. So it was like very competitive. You wanted to be the best of the best. And so when I got in for the band, I majored in band. I ended up taking up photography. I ended up taking up apparel where I learned how to sew. I fell in love with theater. When they showed me Phantom of the Opera, I just melted, right? And but also you get your basics, you get your math, your science, your history. So they, again, very well balanced.
Yeah,
so it's the best of both worlds.
It's proven that students. And I had a guest on here. You probably know Natalie Fraser Allen. I'm not sure if you know.
Maybe
her.
if I see her
Yeah,
face.
yeah, you would see her at the museums and everything that you and I have been to. But she has a program where she was teaching children, and she would have them involved in arts programs because children that are involved in the arts, they do so much better at math. They do so much better, in any of the the disciplines.
And that's my favorite subject. I love math.
And
I'm a numbers girl.
Well, that'll help you in this industry for sure, and put you a step ahead of quite a few. But the other thing is, I'm a believer in specialized knowledge.
Yeah.
And I don't see that a lot of schools focus on that. There's like a general, amount of things that you have to learn, but specialized knowledge, like at Northwest School of the Arts, that's how you're training somebody to do something for their future. You've recognized their calling, and then you're developing them for that. When you were talking about taking photography and taking sewing, you were involved in fashion. When I first met you, you were involved in fashion. And then with the photography, having a knowledge of that, helps you when you actually have to work with a photographer.
Yes.
And understand what they're going through for working in the music industry. They're, understanding marketing and those type of things around it.
And it all plays a part. And I'm talking about photography back when we were having film in the dark room and agitating chemistry. And it just gives you like this whole new appreciation for it. The digital is nice, taking photos with your iPhone, but it was a time to be alive. Yeah. Really it was.
And that there's a place for all of it now. When I'm dealing with an artist, a lot of times they think they can take every picture with just a phone. And while people do want to see something raw, they definitely want to see it on social media, you have to have those professional shots. That's one thing with my wife, I've been able to get her in so much. Yeah. It's because the shots are great. And when I approach artists to get them in those things, they will say, well, I don't have studio. I ran into this last night. I don't have any studio photos. Well, how are you going to work
market
with this
yourself
particular,
or promote?
This campaign needs an in-studio photo. And they were like, well, I don't really know how that works. That should be something, you
That's
put into play.
Implemented,
if you're going to be a recording artist. Now, with you've had I say a pretty incredible 2024.
I think so.
And you released your first project.
I did.
So when exactly did that come out, though? I mean, it's listed as 2024, but did you do the singles first and then release the project? How did you work?
So it was kind of a mixture, especially being an independent artist. And which
is who our audience is here. We have a lot of independent artists,
which is great because I feel like it is the time in that season for independents to really show what they've learned over the years. So for me, releasing my first project, I actually released it a while back. But like I said, being independent, learning as I go, getting more knowledge and saying, hey, oh my God, that has to be registered or that has to be copyrighted. So now I have to also figure out what distribution works best for me and kind of compare and contrast. Like, what am I looking for?
Some people that,
yeah. And so I eventually took the project down. I had to kind of go back and re-implement metadata and all of those things so that those records can be tracked.
Right here is a great lesson for artists.
Yes.
In that they may have done some of the wrong things at first. And the point is, I've always said, just walk forward.
Yeah.
Your first thing is not a masterpiece, but if you don't have a first thing, you're never going to have a masterpiece.
You're not going to get to the next thing.
So learn as you go. There's so many books out. There are great ones, like Chris Greenwood has one on Spotify that I think is a great book on Spotify and about your launch. And, of course, you have, Ari's book, How to Make It in the New Music Business, which is almost a Bible for indie artists now. And there's so many podcasts to watch, including this one, where you can learn how it works.
Knowledge.
But regardless of that, while you're doing it, just walk forward and do it.
Yeah.
Go get that recording. Your recordings will do nothing but get better over time if you put the time and the effort into that.
Yeah.
If you don't stand still, but you walk forward with that, which is what you did. From the first things you recorded to on, it just kept getting better and better.
Thank
and
you.
you finally, had that project. But then tell again what you were redoing on that.
So, like I said, I took it down. I learned more about how I wanted to market it, how I wanted to promote it. I did get CDs made, which was really cool. And people were telling me at that time, this was way back in 2018, and people were telling me, oh, well, nobody has CDs anymore. And another thing too for independent artists to grasp is sometimes, you may look at something as outdated, but your fans and your supporters, they want something tangible. They want to support you. And two, I would, be in Goodwill and things like that. And somebody will just be like, oh, well, I'll buy one of those CDs. And some people and the fun thing is once they put that CD in, they're less likely to take it out because nobody else gave them a CD. So
especially if you sign it.
If you signed it, and which I did. And so once I learned more, I kind of configured how I wanted to distribute my music, and I found another platform. And I reintroduced it, reinvented the vibe of it. The project is called Memoirs of a Goddess. It was inspired by one of my favorite movies called Memoirs of a Geisha, which I actually read that book at Northwest when it came out, and then they released the movie, and I was like, oh my God, God just loves me. The movie was so good. I learned a lot. And
such great visuals.
Such great visuals. And the character just really spoke to me. Like how you said, just overcoming those adversities and saying, hey, I have to start somewhere. And it may not be perfect, but for me, it's more about my purpose. And my purpose is getting the music out there. And so I've put it back out there. That's the project I'm actually focusing on now. I do have another project that's getting ready to come out called The Rose Effect.
Yeah, I read something about that. I think on social.
And so that's going to be kind of like my sophomore EP, because I want to give people my music. I want them to be able to digest it, Yeah. And so that project is probably going to come out in the spring. I'm still focusing on this first EP because although some of my family and friends have heard those songs, I've heard them a million times. My daughter has heard them. The world still needs to hear it.
Your audience is new all the time. It's the same thing. And let's go ahead and go into that because this is something for independent artists. Some of them know, some of them do not know. There are two things there. One is you were talking about, you've heard the songs over and over. And when I have dealt with even national artists that have record deals, one of the things, after they finish the album, they've done, 15 dates with it. They're sick of their own project because they know the songs. They're tired of hearing them. Yeah. Maybe even their families tired of hearing them. But that's the setup for the next project.
Yes.
And if you don't build the fan base with that project, so you have to go out and sing those every night. And there are artists that are 10 years, into their career and they don't want to do their hits. When they show up, it's like, that's why people paid a ticket to show up and hear that.
You're known for that.
Right, as you're building your audience. But the same thing applies in this new singles economy, not just for your music, but also your social media, for instance.
Yeah.
People will put up a post and they will, leave that post up. It'll get the attention it gets.
Right.
And then they don't ever put it up again, not realizing the same group of people do not see it when you put it up again. There's going to be different people added to that.
A new set of eyes,
So you've got to just keep recycling your content.
Yeah.
And you can't worry about, the cool factor and all that because, as you said, your job is to get your music into the hands of new people.
Yes.
and you can't do that worrying too much about the cool factor. And you can't do that, just getting sick of your own stuff.
Yeah.
It's like a job.
I mean, yeah, it really is, and I'm glad you said that.
It's not like a job. It is a job.
It is a job. Right? I'm glad you said that because that same energy and effort that I feel like we go out here and we pour into these companies and these corporations, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you have to implement that same energy into your creative process if you want to cultivate a music career. And that's something that I focused on.
Think on it.
You got to think on it as a music career. You have to think about the music business first. For me, I think what has helped me in this space is I don't focus on the end goal. I just focus on enjoying the process because the process is going to direct me as I go along.
And you're learning in that process.
And you're learning in that process, and you're learning what works, what doesn't work. And so for me, that's a big factor for why I've had quite a bit of success. I may not be super duper mainstream right now, but I am a successful music artist.
Yeah, you got this artist spotlight on Power 98. Power 98 is a legiondary, station.
Very much so.
In the Charlotte region. It's a great station, and I know how hard it is to get on that station.
To get on there, yeah.
So how did you get that? Like, how did they come to you about that, or how did it work?
Actually, okay, so in the beginning, because I've been played on there, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 times. The first time, I'm like, hey guys, I got this song. I want you to put on Keep It or Sweep It. And I think I was just very adamant about it. And I think when they see that you believe in your record, they are more prone to believe in the record. So at first it was me kind of knocking on their door saying, hey, I'm here. They played it. They reviewed it. It kind of it was Keep It or Sweep It, but it did get kept. So that's the thing. So that was good. And then years later, because I kind of continued to support them, they saw how consistent I was in my music career. The second time around, they came and knocked on my door.
Yeah.
So I was messaged about, hey, do you have any new records? I'm like, of course I have new records. And I sent it over to him. Shout out to Incog. And I'm so grateful for his support and everyone over at Power 98. Like you said, just a legendary station for us. And he played it twice, a record called 1995. So 1995 is going to be on the Rose Effect project. So
it's out now as a single.
It's out now as a single.
Great
yeah.
song.
And so he previewed it, and I just had my friends like, hey, you were on the radio. And I was like, what? She was like, that song was good. People voted to keep it. So, that's how I got on. But for me, it was the consistency of what I was doing that I think made them realize, like, hey, we got to support this girl.
Oh, and I was in a creative meeting yesterday where they were talking about an artist who was trying to get a grant. And he would submit for the grant and didn't get it, but he showed up for all the free classes, all the free business classes. That. And because he showed up for all of them, they were like, we got to give this guy the thing because he shows
you're showing up.
Right. And people see that. They see that you bring value, and they see that you're consistent, that it's not a hobby to you. You are, taking it personal. So two of my favorite things that you were able to do this year, one of them was the NAACP Image Awards.
Yes.
You were able to be there, and also BET Awards. So give me the run through of how that came about and your experience over there, because I saw the videos.
Thank you. So just me being a self-starter and wanting to be in those spaces. And I tell any and everybody around me that sometimes you can't always wait for an opportunity. You have to create the opportunity. And I think that's something.
You can hardly wait for the opportunity.
Hardly wait for the opportunity. Really, you never wait for the opportunity.
I don't even hand out business cards. I get other people's business cards and call them back because, so go ahead.
So for me, I just wanted to take the opportunity to get in those spaces and have those conversations with people that I had relationships with. And one thing led to another. And now I will say the travel, the lodging, everything was on me. So it's like, hey, you can be here, but you have to get here.
Well, when you are a Grammy nominee, I mean, you still get yourself there. You get the tickets and all, but it's up to you because my brother goes on the red carpet every year, and nobody pays for his stuff.
Right.
I mean, he's there.
So, and I'm glad we're talking about because, sometimes I don't know, it's like a gift that I have and to make things look easy, but it's not easy. A lot of people don't know, like that NAACP trip almost did not happen because my mom and her fiance, they were trying to get me there, and he works at American, so they were trying to get me there on a buddy pass.
Oh.
And see, the thing about buddy passes is
Not guaranteed.
they're not guaranteed. So at first, I just knew I had it in the bag, and she calls me and she's like, all the seats are full, so I don't know what we're gonna do.
Hold on to that tailwind.
And I'm just like,
Hope
oh
you get there.
my God. And I'm like, but I've already put it out there that I'm going. And it was just like a whole conversation. Like, I am indebted to my mom to this day. But I know she does it because she loves me and that she supports me. But that, like, again, it almost didn't happen, but I really had to let her know this is important to me. This is important for my brand. This is important to me just as a woman, to be in that space, to be an inspiration to people looking up to me. And it was the same with the BET Awards. Now, the BET Awards trip, that was a little bit more my doing, where I was like, okay, I am not going to be in a buddy pass predicament. So I hopped online. I bought that ticket myself. I contacted a good friend of mine who went to Johnson C. Smith with me, who lives out in LA now. And I was like, I'm coming back to LA, and I'm like, I need a place to stay. And he's like, you know, it's kind of last minute, Levi, but you know, he supports me too. And I crashed with him and his brother and his girlfriend, and they welcomed me, and I was able to go to the BET Awards, and it was just so much fun.
Was that the one where Will Smith made his comeback with walking
comeback.
on the fire?
Yeah. And Taraji opened
got a lot of
up.
attention.
Very much so. And you know, it was very fun. It was my first experience being at a big production like that. And like how you said, being a slasher, me being an event production specialist myself, I was entertained by the performances, but I was really more so intrigued by seeing a big production like that happen in real time.
Because, you know, I've been to a few of those, obviously, but you can go to concerts all you want, and concerts are great, and they have incredible production at concerts, but it's nothing like when they can build it at a stable location, and it doesn't have to be torn down for touring. It becomes a whole different monster, and it's so much more entertaining. Then you put that in with, you got some of the best artists in the world that are all there on one night. It would be like if Beyonce had Taylor Swift and Kendrick Lamar and
all in
George
one
Strait
space.
and everybody, nobody opened in the same concert. It would be that crazy. But that's what you're seeing live. Like everybody is there all at once.
Yeah, all at once. And it's live. So it's like you're being cued when to sit down, when to like, hey, everybody, you got to get back to your seat.
Seat fillers.
Seat fillers. And then you have the people, they're arriving late. So if you're sitting in their seat and then now you got to get up and you got to move around. A takeaway though, like when I first came in, I was able to snag a seat next to Reginae Carter, who is Lil Wayne's daughter, which was super monumental because sometimes when you see these celebrities online and you kind of see their persona, and then to be around them in real time and really get a feel for who they are. She's such a fun girl.
And they can be generous.
They can be very generous.
And even during the Grammys, my brother was starving because they wouldn't let you have food, and MC Hammer went and got him a milkshake.
Oh, wow.
You know, which was somebody we grew up, you know, kind of watching.
Yeah, and so it was for me an eye opener, and again, it was the experience that I feel like I needed because I felt like I was of that ilk. I felt like I was amongst people that involved themselves in the same things that I did, so I felt very comfortable. And then just to see different people, and like you said, just walking up to them and being able to take pictures and seeing Tia Mowry or a Big Boy from the Neighborhood. And they're just really cool, down-to-earth people. And you and I both know that humility is needed because, you know, you have an opportunity to be in a space that most people can't get in, but you have to remain humble. You have to remain being a human being.
Help the next person
and
up.
help the next person up. And they were just all very down-to-earth. It was such a good vibe. But those were some big moments for me. Yeah.
That's great to hear. Well, when I want to talk more about the slasher thing, and we'll do that when we come back. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear from our sponsors and our friends, but it's great having you in the studio.
Absolutely.
So we'll be right back right after this.
Radios. They've come a long way from static-filled broadcasts to crystal-clear streaming, and we're here for it. From the golden days of radio shows to today's seamless streaming, radios have evolved like never before. Meet rBeatz, the internet radio that brings you a grand assortment of music genres right at your fingertips. Love discovering new artists? rBeatz has exclusive interviews and local music just for you. Say goodbye to the past and hello to the ultimate listening experience. Check out rBeatz and revolutionize your music journey today. Remember the crackling sounds of old radios? Those days are long gone. With rBeatz, enjoy crystal clear streaming, new artist interviews, and local music all in one place. Don't miss out. Dive into the future of music with rBeatz now.
Calling all independent musicians. Ready to elevate your sound? At rBeatz Radio, we're poised to turn up the volume on your ambition. Submit your tracks today, and here's the reason why. With rBeatz, you're not simply uploading, you're broadcasting your unique resonance to a global audience. Put your hesitations aside. We're offering you the golden opportunity to have your music reviewed and aired on our radio station, absolutely free of charge. You've pondered, perhaps even sampled the others. Now it's time to experiment with the finest. At rBeatz, we're dedicated to you. We're not just a platform, we're your spotlight, and your music merits the stage. Share your social handles, and as soon as your music goes live on rBeatz, you'll be the first to know. We're not just spinning tracks, we're cultivating a vibrant community of artists and aficionados who revel in distinctive soundscapes. rBeatz Radio, the stage where your music receives the applause it's worthy of. Submit your music today and transform your sound into a sensation. In essence, rBeatz your music.
Welcome back to Local Music Somewhere. We're here in the studio, here with Levi DaRosa, and we're talking about our project. We're going to talk about the term slasher here in a moment. Before we do that, I want to just cover your Christmas single real quick. And of course, you have a new music video out, or it's coming out. But let's talk about the Christmas song first.
Yes.
Tell me more about the subject of that.
So the song is called Very Merry Christmas. And I'll be honest with you, when I started my career, I did not imagine having a Christmas song. It's not anything that I pursued in particular. And I just remember listening to beats on YouTube, and I came across this one in particular. And when I heard it, I was just so encapsulated by the warm and coziness of the beat. And I'll be honest with you, I just started flowing to it. And I was like, this is like interesting, because sometimes as an artist, you don't even know that it's in you to do something until a beat or an opportunity presents itself. So when I wrote it, and when I say write, I mean like freestyled it, because I can't even take time to write down songs. I've never in my career been able to, if I could, I would.
That's just not your process.
It's just not my process. And so as I listen to the beat, I'm just like getting more into it. I'm like, have a very Merry Christmas. And it was just so like, I was like, oh my God, this is great. And I'm like, not only, I'm a Christmas baby, I'm a holiday baby. Like one of my favorite movies is The Grinch. I love Baby Grinch. I love everything about it. And it was just so cozy for me.
That's a great description of that song. That song is very cozy, and it has that feel. I had it in my headphones the other day, just walked through a grocery store.
Thank you.
And it was, just it puts you in a super holiday mood.
A super holiday space where it's like you think of like fireplace and
You do.
warm cookies and milk. And it's funny because in the beginning of the song,
It's got that same vibe though with This Christmas.
This Christmas.
Yeah. It's got this. It makes you think of those same things.
It does. And to your point, it sounded very R&B. It was very urban, and it was very pop.
Mm-hmm.
So it had like all these different elements that checked off for me, that it's like, okay, this is a golden egg for me, just in my catalog as an artist. And people will tell you, like if you can really create a really good holiday song, I mean, you can retire a little early.
Well, I've seen it with, the major artists that'll put out that song. They'll become known for that. And it'll stick around, even if people hate the song. Like I love Mariah Carey's song.
She's stalling out right now.
Even if you don't like it, but you've made the memes, and you put them on Facebook and you put them on Insta, and it's made that song go through the roof as far as streaming. So, whatever works. Even the haters can get you paid. Yes. So, in that. But I've seen independent people or people that were songwriters that just wrote the song, or maybe they were an independent artist that recorded the song and they didn't do anything with it, but somebody, picked it up later.
Yeah.
I've seen that with even, friends of mine that there was a gospel songwriter that we knew long time back. She wrote this song. Nobody ever recorded it, I think, but them, and it did really well in the gospel world. But then one day Whitney Houston recorded it.
Wow.
And obviously it changed the money on it.
Changed.
Or have another guy that we know, we knew him straight out of college that wrote a song that was just a simple Christmas song about the thoughts of Mary, that she understand who she was giving birth to. And then another ex-client or client from back then that we had recorded it, and he was one with the record deal and all that. And of course it did really well, but so many people have covered that song that the writer has made a mint off of that song. We're talking mainstream artists that well-known, sell millions on the regular projects, have re-recorded this song. You never know where that'll go. And you just
never know, because you never know who's listening.
Yeah.
You just never know who's paying attention. And that's another thing, too, just being an independent artist, is you never know who's out there listening. You never know who's out there paying attention. And to your point, when I was coming up with the record, for me, too, it tells a story of, just a young Mrs. Claus and Mr. Claus. And I kind of like, hey, like, what did that budding romance look like between them? And in the beginning, when I'm like, Sanye, get in here, I was really talking to my daughter in the studio, and my engineer
kept have the greatest daughter, but yeah, go ahead.
My engineer, when he played, like, he kept it. He always, like, picks up on the little things. And I was telling my daughter, like, get in the recording room with me, because she was getting all over the place. And so it was original. It was authentic. And that's something that I like to do with my music, is have those authentic moments where people can really get to know me. And it just worked. I love it.
Maybe we can get you back in to perform that.
I would most definitely love to do it.
Time.
Yeah.
And now we'll go into Slasher. And
Slasher.
What a slasher is. It's just like we talked about when you have multiple roles, and like we talked about, you are a singer / publisher / event curator.
Yes.
And, I think all of us, they call it, I've got a side hustle, but people have side hustles. I don't know if anybody just has a side hustle. Everybody's
nowadays in this economy, you got to have a few of them.
Yeah. And they all can fit your branding. Some don't even have to. Some can just be purely financial. But when you're telling people, one of the keys to that is you have to hone it in, because people can only absorb so much. So you have to tell them 2 or 3 things that you are, and that be it.
Yeah.
They can find out the
other few things as they go along, but what are these main things? And I think me and you had that conversation, like, when we first met, when I had the boutique on Colony. Like, we really talked about, like, what are some of, like, the main things that you're focused on. And for me, that is my music career. That is my Socialite Charlotte brand, which is the events. And also, a lot of people don't know that I'm a licensed realtor.
Yeah. Of course, I know that.
Yeah, well, you know that. And I'm going to give myself a pat on the back, because I actually just got credentialed to be a broker in charge.
Oh.
So I can now have my own firm. And I just got the green light to be able to take the South Carolina exam. So I'll be pursuing my South Carolina license.
And some of those things add into the slash. Some of them do not. They're things that people don't know about. I know people, and I've been friends with them a while, that while they had a career in music and they were full-time, some of them, they owned funeral homes, for instance, which was great business, no matter what, whether it's, any kind of shake-up in the nation, whether there's always going to be a funeral business, and they've done well with that. Some of them have owned restaurants. I knew one that kept his job as a UPS driver, even through his doing his dates, even through recording his album. Well, because it was something crazy, like the percentage of his benefits and everything that he got if he just reached retirement age at UPS was crazy. So when we sat down and talked, he's like, "Yeah, I guess I should keep that," and he kept it. and he finally retired as a UPS driver and
I love it.
just did his dates, but he was doing them the entire time. Nobody knew,
Nobody knew.
that he was still doing it. So we all have those kind of things.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's for money. Sometimes it's just what you want to do.
What you want to do. Yeah.
But what we're putting in front of people is, are the things that fit the branding or in some way contribute or in some way the money's connected,
Right.
but just so people understand because they all have side hustles too, but they absorb it a different way.
Yeah.
You can't give them more than 2 or 3 choices.
More than two or three things.
Their eyes just glaze, right over.
Yes. And so that's why, like I said, I try to give people things that they can digest. Like how we talked about with Socialite Charlotte and the collaborative project that I was talking to you about, the Passport to London. So this year with Socialite Charlotte, we're doing the 4th annual Queen Charlotte's Ball.
Which is an amazing event.
I cannot believe we're 4 years in.
I know, really. But
literally, like from being at the galleries at 811.
Closely related to COVID era.
Right. Oh my God, yeah. Coming out of COVID and doing the 1st annual ball to now being at the 4th annual, it's meant a lot to me because, like I said, me loving Charlotte, wanting to tell people about our history here. And most people don't know why we're called the Queen City.
Yeah.
But the Queen Charlotte's Ball allows them to get that history piece, that entertainment, and just that camaraderie and networking that I feel like we all need here. So how that ties into the music.
Well, a big city with a small town vibe.
With a small town vibe. So as it relates to the music, is the theme with this year is Passport to London, because a lot of people don't know that Queen Charlotte has a children's hospital named after her in the UK called the Queen Charlotte and Chelsea Hospital. So with that being said, he's like, I didn't. It's like, look, we learn something every day. I was today years old when I learned that.
That's why I come to the shows to learn something. So.
And so with that project, I am working on a British project because my friend, like, he really loves like when I speak like that. And so he's like, you should do something like in the music with that accent. And we start pulling up these beats, and I was like, okay, it's different, but I can do it. Like me and my daughter will walk around the grocery store and she'll be like, let's talk in our British accents. And so we'll just walk past people in the grocery store like, oh, do you want some of that popcorn? And like they'll
She's
be
such a mini.
she is.
Sure.
And so with the music in the ball, there's going to be a soiree runway, which we always do like this really high fashion show. So the music from that project is what the designers are going to be walking to.
Oh.
And that's the first time I've even announced that.
Yeah, because really, you've blended the two. That's the first time I've seen you really do that.
Yeah. So they're getting the music because it's UK inspired. And like I said, we really want people to really come into getting their passport to London, getting that itinerary, and really getting that vibe. And so it's another project. There's 4 records on the project. There's My Flavor. There's Loves Me Not. It's a song called Ambition, and it's a song called Own Lane. So they're going to be getting those drops of the UK. They're going to be hearing me, like I said, talking a little British accent on the records, and just kind of getting me just as a versatile artist, R&B, pop, hip hop, and really seeing what that fusion looks like in real time on the runway.
And the other thing about that is you... not only with this event, but something you like to do is draw attention to Charlotte.
I do.
I mean, I think when we were talking, you said you're even doing that in the new music video that you have coming out.
Yeah, Smooth Lover. So
I love that song.
I love it. So my engineer actually created that beat for me. And it's funny because I found a beat on YouTube and somebody had already bought it. I was so devastated. And I remember going back to my producer. I can't remember if it was... maybe it wasn't Smooth Lover. I think he maybe had already created it. But he put it in front of me. It was supposed to go to another song that I had, but I was like, I'm just going to give you a whole other song, just a whole new vibe. Smooth Lover was born. Shout out to my videographer, Art is Life.
Yes.
We went to the Grand Bohemian. And like you said, I want to show people how beautiful Charlotte is. So there's like in the trailer, there's just drone footage of the city. The Grand Bohemian is very beautiful. I love how they just welcome media. And for those of us who want to showcase Charlotte, but I think that so many people are moving here from all over, like from up north or from the West Coast. Like every day that I'm on the road, I'm like checking out tags. Like, oh my God, that's Virginia, that's Iowa. Like you guys are really here.
And they're bringing great things with them.
And they're bringing great things with them. I will agree. And they want to get involved.
Yes,
that's what I love about it. Like I'm on this platform called Threads from Instagram, and I always see people tagging Charlotte that are not from here looking to get involved. And I love that because this allows them to, again, get that history about the Queen City. Like, don't just come here and wonder, like, hey, what's going on? Like, really learn our history, learn who's been doing what, get involved, build those relationships. But I do think the Queen Charlotte's Ball has done a good job of educating people about our history. Yeah.
Yes, no, it's done very well. And of course, my own wife has been one of
Miss
your Queen Charlottes.
Kerma.
Yeah, she's been there as well.
Yeah.
Have you launched Socialite magazine? Have you done that, or are you is that something in the process?
That is in the process.
Okay.
So I am launching Socialite Charlotte the magazine, and how we talked about just brand wise, we have the events. And we have digital media, but I'm such a big fan of publications because, again, I'm all about tangible. What if the internet shuts down one day? What are we going to have to say, hey, this is what happened and this is who was involved? So it really motivated me to start Socialite Charlotte magazine. And Anthony Hamilton is on the cover of that.
Artist, yeah.
Amazing artist, great friend, very humble, big in the community. We actually shot 3 covers.
Still packing them in around the country.
Just still packing them in. I mean, I think Usher was just here and he brought Anthony out and KC. Like just
KC
was here.
Yeah.
And so we put him on the cover of it, and he was just super humble. It took time to kind of coordinate with his team, but he flew in. We got the cover shot. Shout out to Ricky Dixon. He shot the cover. It was so much that went into that process. So many hands. But the first edition is the music edition.
Very good.
And I wanted to put a spotlight, like you said, on other musicians. It's a new era of R&B soul. And I do think that Anthony Hamilton is the epitome of that. And we have a lot of R&B artists in Charlotte, just in the Carolinas in general.
Right. And it's you see that with NC Music Hall of Fame.
And you know, too, because you guys just did the Confluence and just put in a spotlight.
That was the first time that I saw that as a spotlight. Plus, there are 2 conferences in town. One is called It's Your Time Conference, which is primarily R&B, hip hop.
Right.
So that focuses on that scene, and there have been, big showcases lately.
Yeah.
And of course, the studios have gotten so better. In fact, one of the when I brought producers in that they say is one of the most artist-friendly studios was Grindhouse with Jason Jett, which is R&B, hip hop studio.
Him. Yeah. And he's going to be going in the magazine. I went to go sit down with him and getting you guys involved. I definitely want to get some coverage from Confluence. I wasn't able to make it. It's like flu season and my daughter got really, really sick. And I'm not that person that if I've been exposed to something, I'm going to go around people. So I kind of sat down for a period of time for that. But this magazine is going to be so special. It's the music edition, but it's also the peace and love issue. So we're going to be exploring Charlotte. What makes us this peaceful, loving city that's so alluring that people want to get into? Really giving them a guide to the Queen City. Like what are the good sides of towns? Like we have so many restaurants popping up.
Great
so many
culinary schools.
Culinary schools.
Restaurants to be so great. Yeah.
So much to love about Charlotte. And I think this magazine is going to fill that void again for everybody that's flooding here to really learn like who's who are some of these tastemakers in music such as yourself who are spotlighting other individuals. And again, get to know us,
yes.
Get to know the Queen City.
And come network with us. There's so
us.
many events in this Queen City when you're involved in music. Confluence is a great one. It's Your Time is a great one. Charlotte is creative. Tosco's, music parties, that whole scene.
Like Camp North End, they're always doing stuff. Dump and Swap, they're always doing stuff.
Blumenthal, what Tom has at Blumenthal, and of course what Rick has with Central City Partners and Music Everywhere. There's just incredible stuff that's growing here. It's a great time to have Charlotte as your base as a musician. And it's so great having rBeatz.
I love it.
Having their base here because we're able to pull those artists, even though we interview artists from around the country, we've been able to put some spotlight on Charlotte as well.
Yeah.
And I love that.
I love that too, because I am the self-proclaimed Queen City's R&B princess. And so it meant a lot to me,
Let's make it official proclamation today, right?
rBeatz
the Dream Maker said.
This is the Queen City's R&B princess. But no, it's important to me to represent Charlotte because I do feel like sometimes Charlotte gets a bad rep for certain things. And it's like, oh my God, how did that become the narrative? Or how did that become the narrative? And so to be in a position to kind of be a front runner and be a good representation, because that's what we need. We need good-hearted people, good creatives, people who are professional, people who know how to conduct themselves, because that's a part of being an artist too. It's not just about going in that studio and making the records. It's about your presentation and who you are as a brand.
Your brand is a promise.
It's a promise. It's a promise. And so my promise to my fans is, you know, to help uplift their spirits and give them feel good music. So if you're ever feeling down, heartbreak, maybe you just want to dance a little bit, play my music and it will make you feel good. And maybe it's not even the beat. Maybe it's not even the lyrics. Maybe it's just my voice. Maybe it's the frequency. Whatever it is, like I want people to listen to it and take what they want from it. Yeah.
Yeah. And put on our Christmas song while you're walking through the grocery store.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't wait.
Well,
I can't wait for that.
How do people find out about you?
Oh my God. So everything about me is Levi DaRosa. It's LeviDaRosa. On Instagram, it's official. But if you even just Google search that, it'll be like
a lot of stuff
it'll
about
be
you
a
comes up.
lot of things coming up. So that's how they can find me. I'm on all streaming platforms. I also still press CDs. So I have people who will, you know, contact me. And like I said, I'll get the CDs pressed and I'll create them. I'll sign them. I'll send them to my supporters. And so that's how they can find me, you know. And if you really want to find me, I'm in Charlotte.
Yeah. And she'll be at the Queen Charlotte Ball.
And I'll be at the Queen Charlotte's Ball on December 21st.
Well, yeah. And I look forward to that as well.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure.
It's great to have you as a friend and have known you all this time and watch you grow as an artist. You're doing incredible work.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Local Music Somewhere. And find out about the artists that are in your local music community, because that's where they start and then they grow out of that. And it's great to see them at the beginning and, you know, become that fan for life. Sign up for their email list and support them with a product and remind them you're not just supporting them because they're local. You're supporting them because they're awesome. So, again, thank you for tuning in and much love. See you next time.